This story takes place during the Ming Dynasty. It follows a warrior named Lin Dawei. At that time, he was part of a group of swordsmen hired by a city official to hunt down a ruthless assassin. When the moment came, Dawei and the others launched their attack. A fierce duel broke out between Dawei and the killer. Just as Dawei was about to win, an arrow suddenly flew through the air and killed the assassin instantly. The arrow came from Kai Bu-to, the very official who had hired them. Despite relying on these warriors, Kai Bu-to never treated them like human beings. Their pay was never equal to the danger they faced, and when 6 of Dawei's comrades died, their bodies were discarded without respect or honor. This is where everything begins to fall apart. This is Rusty Blade. Years earlier, Dawei had been a young swordsman wandering from place to place, sharpening his skills. One day he came across a beautiful woman being harassed by thugs. From that encounter, love slowly grew, and the two eventually bound themselves in marriage. Her name was Wan Yu. After marrying her, Dawei chose to hang up his sword, hoping to live a quiet and normal life. But the only skill he truly possessed was the art of the blade. To support his wife and young child, Dawei had no choice but to work under Bu-to's command. For years he kept his sword hidden, only drawing it when ordered to do so, and always in secret so no one would discover his true strength. One day, everything changed. A swordsman named Chen Renjian appeared at Dawei's home. He had discovered Dawei's hidden skill and came to challenge him. Driven by ambition and a hunger for strength, Renjian kept pushing Dawei to fight, even though Dawei refused again and again. In the end, Renjian offered a piece of silver as a final challenge, asking Dawei to meet him that night at a graveyard. That evening, Dawei's family could only afford a thin bowl of porridge. They had completely run out of rice. Later that night, after his wife and child fell asleep, Dawei quietly took his sword and went to meet Renjian. In the darkness of the graveyard, Renjian launched a sudden attack. The fight began the moment Dawei accepted the silver. It did not last long. Dawei defeated him with ease and chose to spare his life. The next morning, Dawei used the silver to prepare a proper meal for his family, but his wife was unwell and could only lie weakly in bed. Not long after, a man from Dawei's old group arrived with food, having heard that his wife was sick. This man was Lu Qian, the leader of the swordsmen. Unbeknownst to Dawei, Lu Qian secretly harbored feelings for his wife. He was a widower with one child of his own. Trouble truly began when Lu Qian proposed a dangerous plan. He wanted Dawei to help him rob a wealthy merchant in the city. Dawei strongly refused at first, but when he thought about his desperate financial situation, he finally agreed. After saying goodbye to his beloved wife, he set out once more. 4 men led by Lu Qian set out to attack the stronghold of a wealthy merchant named Jin Man Tang, even though the risk was extremely high. A brutal fight soon broke out. Inside the building, Dawei faced Jin Man Tang directly. In the chaos, he accidentally killed Jin Man Tang's wife. When the gold was finally found, Lu Qian stabbed Jin Man Tang from behind to silence him forever. That night, Lu Qian and the others succeeded in their robbery. The next day, Dawei buried the gold he had received after it was divided among the 4 of them, including Lu Qian. When he looked at his wife, guilt overwhelmed him for having taken the life of an innocent woman. He decided that he would leave the city with his wife and child to start a new life far away. But Lu Qian had other plans. He intended to replace Jin Man Tang and become the most powerful merchant in Taiping. To do that, someone had to take the blame for the murder, and that person was Dawei. Just as Dawei was preparing to leave the city for good with his family, Kai Bu-to arrived at his home and discovered the hidden gold. It became proof of his crime, and Dawei was taken away to face punishment. Refusing to give up, Dawei's wife went to Lu Qian for help, but all she received was disappointment. Dawei would still be exiled from Taiping, exactly as Lu Qian wanted. Worse still, Lu Qian secretly sent Renjian to kill Dawei so he could take his wife for himself. The next day, Dawei was escorted by 2 guards toward his place of exile, leaving behind a wife who promised to wait for him no matter how long it took. Along the way, Renjian suddenly attacked, terrifying the guards. But this time, he allowed Dawei to escape, even though Lu Qian had paid him, because he still owed Dawei from their past duel. During Dawei's years in exile, many things changed in Taiping. Renjian rose to become the strongest swordsman, with no one left who could challenge him. Most importantly, Lu Qian took full control of the city, becoming both a powerful official and the leading businessman, replacing Jin Man Tang. Although his rise was illegal, he was protected by corrupt authorities. Lucian proved to be even more ruthless than his predecessor. He exploited the common people, taking far more than he should. The citizens could do nothing, as he was shielded by those in power. Resentment spread, and many merchants came to hate him deeply. 10 years passed. Dawei's daughter had grown into a beautiful young woman, and so had Lu Qian's son. When enemies of Lu Qian discovered who they were, they became targets of that hatred. Not long after, Lu Qian received shocking news. Jin Mantang was still alive. After being stabbed, he had survived and spent the next 10 years carefully planning his revenge against everyone who had slaughtered his family. Soon after, Lu Yen went to visit Dawei's wife. For the past 10 years, he had secretly supported her and her child financially, but it was never out of kindness or respect for Dawei. His true desire was to marry her. Even after all this time, she continued to reject him, remaining loyal to her husband despite everything. No matter how much Lu Qian provided, her heart never wavered. That same night, Jin Mantang returned with significant resources and hired Ren Zhan to help him take revenge on Dawei, Lu Qian, and the two others who had robbed him. At the same time, Dawei was finally released from exile. He walked alone through the scorching desert, his face filled with guilt and regret. When he reached home, his daughter did not recognize him and mistook him for a beggar. His wife was stunned when she realized her husband had finally returned after 10 long years apart. During their meal together, Dawei felt his heart sink as he noticed the cold attitude of his daughter. Her resentment was understandable, as she had grown up believing her father had abandoned her. Even later that night, his wife still carried anger toward him for hiding the truth about the gold that led to his punishment. Only after Dawei explained why he had been exiled did her heart soften slightly. Still, he chose not to reveal that he had once killed an innocent person, because all he wanted now was a peaceful life without bloodshed. The next day, Dawei met with Lu Qian. When Lu Qian mentioned Ren Zhan, Dawei was shaken. He remembered that Ren Zhan had once been sent to kill him by someone else, and that person was Lu Qian. Suspicion began to grow in his heart, but he pushed it aside, choosing to focus on living quietly for whatever time he had left. Later, when Dawei returned home, he found a Qian waiting for him. A Qian, the son of Lu Qian, wanted to learn swordsmanship from him. Meanwhile, in another place, Jin Mantang and Ren Zhan had already begun their revenge. Their first move was the brutal killing of Li Fei, one of the 4 men who had once robbed them. News of Li Fei's death soon reached Lu Qian. Deep down, he knew this day would come. For 10 years, he had lived comfortably and without worry. Even so, he was determined to protect his position, relying once again on Dawei as his strongest shield. Not long after, Jin Mantang released a public threat aimed directly at Lu Qian and especially at Dawei. Beneath that warning lay the bodies of Li Fei and his family, displayed as a brutal message. Upon seeing it, Dawei immediately prepared to go to Lu Qian's house to collect the gold that had been promised to him. That night, as Dawei prepared to collect his gold and leave Taiping for good, Lu Qian continued to pressure him to face Jin Mantang. Dawei refused again and again. Then Lu Qian revealed the truth that shook everything. He reminded Dawei that it was him who had killed Mantang's wife. Hearing this, Dawei's wife was deeply shaken. The truth broke her heart, and in her pain, she sided with Lu Qian, believing Dawei had to take responsibility for what he had done. Dawei then left with the gold given by Lu Qian. Even though he might still end up facing Jin Mantang, Lu Qian continued seeking help elsewhere. He begged Butu to send troops to support him, but his request was ignored. A few nights later, Dawei's wife made up her mind. She chose to stand strong and face Mantang alongside her husband, believing that Dawei's fate could never be separated from the path of the sword. Not long after, Lu Qian announced a public reward, promising a large amount of gold to anyone who could help him defeat Mantang. Among those who heard the announcement was Tian Yi Dao, one of Mantang's followers. That same night, he attempted to steal the gold but was caught. Lacking confidence in his own forces, Lu Qian decided to recruit Yi Dao instead, offering him the stolen gold in exchange for launching a surprise attack on Mantang. However, the assault led by Lu Qian's ally Gao Meng ended in total failure. Yi Dao betrayed them despite being paid. With no other choice left, Lu Qian now had to face the wrath of Jin Mantang himself. Fear consumed him. He wanted to flee Taiping and escape the man who was coming to kill him. Deep down, he knew that relying on Dawei alone would only lead to his own death. Desperate and reckless, Lu Qian even tried to convince Dawei's wife to run away with him. He did not realize that Dawei was nearby, teaching swordsmanship to a Qian. When a Qian witnessed his father behaving so shamelessly toward the woman he loved, he was left in shock. At first, Dawei remained calm and asked a Qian and his wife to step outside. After that, Dawei's anger finally exploded. He attacked Lu Qian without holding back, especially after Lu Qian openly admitted the betrayals he had committed. Yet in the end, Da Wei fell silent when Lu Qian made him realize that no matter where he ran, Jin Mantang would always hunt him down. Deep in his heart, Da Wei began to accept that letting his wife and daughter go with Lu Qian might be the only way to keep them safe from Mantang's wrath. But suddenly, his wife stepped forward and chose to stay by his side until the very end, bound to him in life and death through true love. In the end, Da Wei's daughter left with a Qian and his father Lu Qian, while Da Wei prepared to face Jin Mantang and his forces alone. The sword he had buried for 10 years was finally unearthed and sharpened once more, ready for battle. At the same time, a Qian, who had already traveled far away, decided to return and help his teacher as an act of loyalty and respect. Not long after, Lu Qian also chose to return, determined to atone for his past mistakes and driven by concern for his beloved son. While Da Wei's wife waited anxiously, hoping for his safe return, Jin Mantang and his army, including Ren Zhan, prepared for the final confrontation. A Qian soon arrived to fight alongside Da Wei, and a fierce battle between legendary warriors began. As Da Wei and a Qian fought their way through the enemy forces, Jin Mantang ordered Ren Zhan to step forward. Ren Zhan chose to wait, wanting Da Wei to finish dealing with the soldiers first. Growing impatient, Jin Mantang rushed in himself, trying to kill Da Wei while he was still fighting. But in a sudden twist, Ren Zhan stabbed Jin Mantang from behind and ended his life. Meanwhile, a Qian struggled against Yi Dao until his father stepped in to help. Yi Dao fell by Lu Qian's hand, but moments later, Lu Qian also met his end. Not long after that, a Qian too fell, struck down by Ren Zhan. This marked the final battle between Ren Zhan, the swordsman consumed by his thirst for power, and Da Wei, the true warrior guided by purity of heart. In the end, both men fell with pride and honor. As Da Wei lay on the brink of death, his beloved wife rushed to his side. She found him in a state she never wished to see. In her arms, Da Wei took his final breath. In the end, none of the warriors survived, and death claimed them all. So the moral of the story is never trust people with hidden motives, because one bad choice can turn your whole life into chaos.